We've lost most everything that we've worked for, and it looks like we're not going to get any of it back.
I was a little surprised to see this, and that's why I left for Colombia, because I knew that the house would be. How you doing, sir?
All right, welcome home. You just getting back?
Yeah, just now. I just came back in from Colombia. We get much.
What's the new flood?
When I first saw it, I cried because really I have no place else to go right now. You know, I'm staying at a friend's house, but you know, how long can I stay there? We need shelter.
It has been 1 week since Hurricane Hugo barreled its way through St. Stephen, leaving hundreds homeless.
Natural disasters have been responsible for causing damage to the environment and the people living in it for thousands of years, causing sudden disruption to the normal life within a society. Earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, eruptions, and so on. Today we focus on a specific disaster, Hurricane Hugo, and the photographs in which depict its horror and human experience. On the night of September 21st to the 22nd, 1989, thousands of South Carolina residents and families feared to lose their homes and their lives, unexpectedly deemed to survival mode, as Hurricane Hugo, a Category 4 hurricane, headed towards its coast. Hurricane Hugo was the worst hurricane to strike South Carolina since 1872, and the strongest to batter the United States in 20 years. It was defined as a Category 4 hurricane, where 131 to 155 mile-per-hour winds tore away roofs and collapsed building walls, while storm surges ranging from 13 to 18 feet caused major beach erosion and widespread inland flooding. From 1900 to 1999, in any given year, the probability that a Category 3 storm or above would strike the East Coast was 31%, so Hugo was quite unexpected. The current probability is 63%. But the question is never if a major hurricane will strike, but rather when. By 1989, when Hugo hit, Charleston's 319-year history had been etched with the effects of great storms. The first major recorded hurricane in August of 1686 broke up a Spanish attack and was remembered fondly as wonderfully horrid and destructive. Other storms came in 1706, 1713, damaging ships, flooding streets, sweeping away houses. The Great Gale of 1804 ravaged the second Fort Moultrie, washed away 15 to 20 houses on Sullivan's Island, and flooded downtown Charleston with chest-deep water. A storm in 1825 did major damage as well, and a hurricane in 1853 left an epidemic of malaria in its wake and destroyed an entire railroad. It was a beautiful city with histories of disaster. Despite disasters being categorized strictly as history, one can admit that we may also enjoy its stories of destruction. We want to hear that ships and railroads and houses were lost, that people drowned and lives were ruined. It is interesting to us, but why? When looking chiefly at American culture, Miles Orwell, author of Empire of Ruins, argues that the meaning of ruins has changed over the course of the last 2 centuries. He also says that these changes have been linked not only to the changing material cause of ruins and how they were produced, but also to the way ruins have been represented as spectacles of destruction in photography. There's a real mixture of emotions that includes horror, nostalgia, regret, but also a kind of thrill, a sort of sublimed excitement, when looking at some of these photographs taken after Hurricane Hugo's reign of destruction. Let's take a look at a photograph taken by Wade Spees of an optician whose shop was brutally destroyed by the ravenous hurricane.
Wade Spees is a news photographer at the Post and Courier for Charlestown, South Carolina metropolitan area. The Post and Courier is the main daily newspaper in Charleston, South Carolina, and it traces its ancestry to 3 original newspapers: the Charleston Courier, which was founded in 1803, the Charleston Daily News, founded in 1865, and the Evening Post, founded in 1894. The Courier brands itself as the oldest daily newspaper in the South and one of the oldest continuously operating newspapers in the United States. The newspaper has won the highest awards in journalism, frequently outmatching much larger news organizations. It has also taken on a leadership role in exposing corruption. It has won awards for coverage on topics such as domestic violence, climate change, police shootings, local economies, and natural disasters. Throughout the Post's history, they have shown trends of endorsements for Republican candidates for local and state government officials. The representation we will be analyzing was distributed via the Post and Courier amongst the news coverings of Hurricane Hugo in a section titled Picking Up the Pieces. In the days following the hurricane, Spies took to the streets of Charleston to capture the devastating losses of his hometown via photographs. Amongst these photographs was a photo of an optician named Dick Davenport, who lost his business during the events of Hurricane Hugo. In the photo, Davenport is seen leaning over his once beloved business, receiving a consoling hug from a woman who appears to be a friend. When looking at the image, you can divide it up into 4-section grid. The left-hand top corner magnifies the darkest part of the photograph. It is the background of the store, and is quite the opposite of inviting. The left bottom corner, closest to the audience, shows us what remains, a pile of rubble. Bits of concrete and a Christian Dior fashion magazine lay beneath it. Zooming into the pile of rubble, you can decipher a woman's face, with glasses and some kind of headpiece resting on the top of her head. You can only see her eyes and nose, which adds to the gloomy atmosphere of the photo as well. Despite the most prominent feature of the photograph being these two bodies, this fashion magazine offers a very meaningful image within an image, for the people on the right-hand side of the photo do not look directly at us. They share a moment to themselves, and we cannot see their faces. In comparison to these people hugging, the magazine stares at us, but it is so small. Spies purposefully crops the image this way, including the magazine in the corner to draw an image of destruction side by side to humanity and its personal tendencies. There also seems to be a clear depiction of a diagonal line in the center of the image. The man leans over to hug a woman, making his shovel and body a diagonal line, which is a useful way to highlight certain elements of Spies' photograph, dividing it from the rubble and hope. These lines direct the eye of the viewer to see the detail that the naked eye might miss or overlook. For example, where the rubble lays next to his feet, below him, but piled up so high it takes up almost half of the diagonal of the shovel. It is also important to notice there are no colors in the photo. It was relatively dark, but the bits of white give the pop of light our eyes needed to get away from all the black gloominess. Due to the nature of the publication of this photograph, it was most likely viewed by older, native Carolinians who have a more conservative view. Surprisingly, the context in which this photo is placed in the paper does not appear to be geared towards gaining emotional sympathy for the persons involved. The text lying beside the photo in the article talks solely about the economic loss and nothing about the emotional turmoil so clearly captured in this photo. However, this may be aligned with the target audience of the Post and Courier that was mentioned earlier. Was the target audience more concerned with piecing together the emotional destruction caused by Hugo, or the physical and economical destruction? This may also raise questions about the ethics of including this photo in the publication. This photo was taken at a time of extreme emotional distress of a small-town business owner. It was published in the largest newspaper in South Carolina at the time of its publication. Was it Spies' place to capture such a vulnerable moment? Did the benefits of the photo's publication outweigh the moral dilemmas of publicizing someone's pain? Does the man in the photo want to be known for this extremely personal event for the rest of his life? Personally, we believe while this photo is capturing a very vulnerable moment, the sense of community and love overshadows the darkness. Therefore, the publication is not inherently immoral. When the people of Charleston and the readers of the Post and Courier viewed this photo, they could have felt a slew of different emotions. One emotion may have been sympathy. When viewing the photo, it is almost impossible not to sympathize for the seemingly hopeless business owner. Even if you did not experience loss to this degree during the hurricane, it would not have been hard to imagine the extreme distress of losing everything you've worked so hard for and having to pick up all the pieces. Others may have been empathetic, being able to relate to losing their homes or businesses. They too may have lost their livelihoods during the hurricane, not knowing what the next steps would be. Viewers of the photograph may also have felt a sense of community and support. The woman in the photo represents emotional support as she embraces the business owner with a loving hug. This represents the people of Charlestown who came together to support each other in this troubling time of need. It may make the viewer feel more at peace with the aftermath of the hurricane, knowing they are not alone.
Spee's photograph of destruction also works to transform Hugo into an aesthetic experience, something members of Charleston can remember and relate to greatly. But as we know, there seems to be questions about the ethics centered around such photographs that deal with ruin, destruction, detriment of homes and lives. Does the pleasure of viewing these images work against their moral purpose? Do such images, however shocking, numb their audience, causing them to doubt whether the situation can really be so bad? That is up for you to choose, remembering that these photographs have multiple stories, some true, some untrue. Hugo was a disaster to all that came into its way, and we will remember them.